how do you get into the customer's world, and how do you genuinely come from a place of service? Because I think when you do that, you've got a much better chance and people trust you more.
Mm-hmm. So here's something that may be really obvious. Speaking is something that we do every day. I'm speaking right now on this podcast. But not everyone speaks the same way. Some people definitely seem to be able to do it easier. They're more powerful. They get their points across in a much more confident and convincing way. Why? So today on MindBlend, I'm joined by Navin Jaitly, a high-performance coach who teaches people how to speak with clarity, confidence, and real authority. Welcome to the show, MindBlend. I'm your host, Karen Chong, and I'll be diving into the minds of incredible people, each an expert in their very own way. Together, we'll uncover insights and share ideas so you can be inspired and empowered to navigate your own unique journey in life. Ready to get curious and discover what's possible? Let's blend. Hi, Navin. Welcome to MindBlend.
Hey, Karen. Yes, thank you for having me.
So, as I know, and as I've alluded to, you're a confidence coach and award-winning speaker. How did that all start?
Yeah, sure. I can do it. I'll give you the quick version of the story. But basically, I've had a career in sales. So I was working in corporate sales, about 20 years ago I started. And like most people, I actually struggled at the beginning because sales isn't an easy profession.
No, it's not.
And I didn't really have much experience in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started there and I struggled. And I basically was going to get one of the jobs I was working in, I was going to basically get fired because I hadn't really got anything in my pipeline. I hadn't really got any sales on the board. And I remember going to one meeting, and in the meeting, it went the worst possible. I was meeting a CEO, and I was like, deal was really needed to keep me on track, or to keep me in a job even. And it didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually told me in the meeting, we're not going to be buying from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the last meeting of the day. And I remember going home that night and thinking, I might just hand my resignation notice in tomorrow. I'm not really enjoying this sales game and I'm not doing very well in it. And something in me just made me go, actually, look, if I quit this, I mean, I might always be quitting things. And, I think I've got some of the attributes needed to be good at this. So let me sort it out. And so what I decided to do is I just started to get into personal development at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood, most people, well, not most people, everybody was saying that if you want to be top in anything, you need to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew my company weren't going to invest in me because at the time I wasn't really performing or performing to the level they needed me to. So I decided out of my own money to invest in not just a sales coach to help my selling skills, but I knew a lot of it was about the game, the inner game, the mindset. So I took out a mindset coach. Again, I'm giving you the shorter version of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And within a short period of time, I started getting a lot better. And as the months went by, I started getting more and more wins, better results. And eventually I became top of my game. And for the rest of my sales career, I was always in the top few percent of people. So a few years ago, I wanted to start my entrepreneurial journey. It was something I'd always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those classics during COVID. I thought, look, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, that's a catalyst.
Yeah, it's a catalyst, right? Yeah, that time to reflect. And you're thinking, actually, now, why not now?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had got the skills in sales. I really knew my stuff there. And also what I'd done, and I invested a lot of my own personal money and time in personal development, developing myself. I did a performance coaching qualification, which was, a pretty intense one.
Mm-hmm.
So I also became a coach. And then I thought, look, let me combine the two and let me coach and train people in the sales world. So, whether it's sales or business development people in companies, that was my original plan. But as I started my entrepreneurial journey, what I realized is most other entrepreneurs, they didn't know how to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of businesses, the stats in the UK is 1 in 2 businesses fail some say 3 years, some say 5 years. And I'm a big believer that one of the main reasons for that is they don't know how to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a great product or service. They're really good at what they do, but they're not bringing the customers in.
Mm-hmm.
So basically for the last few years, I've been helping sales and business development teams within companies turn around their sales, and also entrepreneurs who want to get better at selling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used that combination of skill set, sales skills, influencing, and speaking, because speaking is one of the ways that I myself have drummed up a lot of business. I believe speaking is a great platform to get out there and share your message. So if you're very impact driven, which I am also as well, then speaking's great. So really what I've been doing is providing the technical skills in sales and speaking to my clients, but also a lot of what I call the inner game and mindset. So I have the tools and techniques of how to actually get people what I call their most zone of genius, their most flow state, where they're the
Mm-hmm.
most confident. Okay. And that combination is what gets results. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there's too much out there that just focuses on one or the other. I mean, you got a lot of mindset coaches out there, which are
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think there is skill in, I think there is still skill needed when it comes to influence
Mm-hmm.
and sales and speaking. And then you have a lot of people who teach the technical stuff, which is very important, but they don't teach the inner game and mindset. And what we do is what I do is I do both. So that's how a nutshell of how I got into this all.
So it was personal experience, and then you yourself got some coaching. Do you remember what were the key problem areas when you were not really performing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, some of it was just actually knowledge in some of the more advanced sales skills because there are, I can explain a few as well. There are some technical skills needed when selling and influencing people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it ranges from a few things like the types of questions you're asking. I mean, for example, when I wasn't selling so well, I'd go into meetings and I'd talk too much and I'd be talking at customers.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be asking those really powerful questions to uncover needs. That's just one example. And then the big thing as well was that inner game confidence, because when you're not sales is it's very ruthless in a way because there's no hiding. Right? It's a number. You're either hitting the numbers or not hitting the numbers, and because of that, when you're not hitting numbers, your confidence starts to sap.
Mm-hmm. You start doubting yourself.
Well, or you start doubting yourself, or you're not in the sort of powerful state you need to be. So when I wasn't selling as well years ago, now I look back at it in particular, um, my confidence wasn't where it needed to be. And the thing is, you can actually be still quite a confident person. I know a lot of confident people. Like in my general life at the time, I was actually had a decent amount of confidence when I was
Mm-hmm.
in social situations. But there's a difference between being like general level of confidence and when you're selling a product and service, either as a professional sales or business development person or running your own business. I think those confidence levels have to be even higher
Mm-hmm.
and elevated to really, really become successful. Or when you're speaking on stage, right? Like how many times you probably know people, and I know people who are really confident when they're out with their friends, out in a group situation, stick them on stage and suddenly their confidence taps. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
person, different platform, suddenly their inner game changes. So in answer to your question, when it wasn't working as well for me, it was a combination of lacking some technical skills, and I'd say that inner
Mm-hmm.
game state, confidence, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. So I know you have a workshop coming up in just less than a week. So I'm not going to ask you everything that you're going to talk about at the workshop. But let's break down the technical skills. Because I know, like for me personally, nervousness, anxiety is definitely my biggest enemy, I feel like. I was doing company training and I know the material very well, but my voice was trembling. Thank God it didn't come through in the recording. So I think that might be one of the big area for a lot of people.
Yeah. So do you mean the anxiety side of things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, everything obviously different things for different people. Different people have reasons why they're being anxious, and also depending on the situation. I mean, I've stood in front of hundreds of people and spoke, and even though I'm an experienced speaker and a very confident speaker on stage, I mean, I generally don't get that much anxiety, but sometimes even I still will get a little bit of anxiety
Hmm.
if it's a situation that I really want to go well. Of course, a little bit of nerves, remember, are actually quite good because I know it's a cliche saying, but it really shows you care. If you don't care at all, you're not going to get nerves. So a little bit of nerves and anxiety is actually good.
Hmm.
And I mean, I like sport, and one of the sports I like watching is boxing.
Hmm.
And I always remember that one of the famous boxing trainers, Custamato, he said, "Fear, make it your friend. Fear, anxiety goes. Fear is
Hmm.
like a fire. It can keep you warm, right? But if it goes out of
Hmm.
control, it will burn you, right? And it's the same with anxiety. So I always say a little bit's fine. But in terms of how to reduce that, like one of the things I talk about when either sales or speaking, right? When you're going to jump on stage, you're going to be on a camera, you're going to be on a whatever it is on LinkedIn, social media, a virtual stage, or an in-person stage, or you're in a meeting, you're pitching to people, you're pitching for
Mm-hmm.
investment, or you're in a sales meeting and you're looking to influence someone. All those situations can bring up a little bit of anxiety, and understandably so. And so one of the things I always get my clients to do, get people to think about, is your deeper why.
Your deeper why. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you speaking at the moment? What's so important about it? So, for example, I'll keep some examples to myself to make it easier. When I'm speaking on stage, I'll always remind myself, why am I speaking about this topic? Why am I speaking about influence and sales and confidence and mindset? And the reason is because I'm passionate about them and they can help people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come from a place of service and helping, you almost make it less about yourself and you make it more about your audience, which naturally reduces your anxiety because
Mm-hmm.
then you're not trying to perform. You're trying to connect,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's a different energy when you're trying to impress and perform versus when you're trying to connect and help, right? And when you're
Definitely.
trying to connect and help, people feel that. More important, or just as importantly, you actually feel less nerves because you're in a
Mm-hmm.
different state. So one thing I always say is always remind yourself, and I think anything you do, even in your regular job, right? If you're connecting to a deeper why, right,
Mm-hmm.
that can really help. Now, some people say, well, I haven't got such a spiritual, powerful reason for my why. I go, it doesn't have to be. It could be you're doing this because you have a family and you want to really provide well for them, and you realize this talk or this sale is going to help do that, right? So it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
why is. I think get in that why. The other thing related to that is, again, always remember like what you're doing, how it helps. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm selling my products and services, when I'm speaking on stage and I'm educating my audience and then promoting what I do, I'm doing it from a place of this is going to help them. Like the amount of business owners, the amount of people I work with who are like so relieved when they're able to start influencing and selling more, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
life changing for them sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So, and I remember myself 20 years ago when I wasn't selling, and then when I did sell, the difference it was like financially, just I was coming to work, enjoying work rather than not enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you're a
Yeah.
happier person. So where I'm going with this is with my coaching services, the reason I can speak with so much conviction and I'm not sort of standing there or sitting there thinking, "Oh, I hope they like me," or "I hope they don't think I'm being too
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
pushy."
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I know that what I've got is of value, and as long as the other persons need it, then it's my duty to tell them about it, to influence them, to be in my powerful state. And so,
Mm-hmm.
kind of relate to the first point, but knowing your why and knowing how you're going to help people is really takes the pressure off you and stops getting in your head and makes you come from a place of service. And then the other thing I always say is state management.
State management.
Yeah,
Okay.
like sports people do it a lot, right? So they look to get themselves into a peak state. So a boxer before they're going to go in the ring, they want to get in their most confident state. A football
Mm-hmm.
player before they're going to take a penalty, they want to get in that state of conviction. Okay, it's the same when you're speaking or selling. Okay, you want to be
Mm-hmm.
in a state of as much confidence as possible. So one of the things I always say is like, I remember one of my clients said, like, what's the best way to prepare for a meeting or before or prepare for a talk on stage? And I said, look, of course, practice, know your stuff.
Yeah.
If you're going to know about your client, know about your audience, all of that stuff is you have to do. But it's also really important to be in a state of confidence. So what I always get people to do before they're going to go on a stage or they're going to go into a meeting is actually literally go through all their wins in their head.
Yeah.
Go through what makes them great. Go through if they're selling
Mm-hmm.
a product or service, go through testimonials of like clients who've just really benefited from that, right? Write it
Yeah.
down or go through in your head, definitely before you're going to go. But one of the things I encourage my clients to do is do this on a regular basis. Like
Mm-hmm.
once every few months, you should write down what's so great about you, what's so great about your product and service.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're then actually got tangible evidence, the brain is always looking for evidence. You've got to remind yourself of why you or your product or your service or what you're going to speak about is so great. And if you combine that with how is it going to help people and what's your deeper why, that will get rid of 70-80% of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Then adding some other technical skills on top, practicing and things like that, That's going to help with the other 20, 30%. But I always say like 70 to 80% of performance, of speaking, of influencing, of life even, it's in the brain.
Yeah. The going through your wins is something I do as well. Not necessarily before a meeting because I don't have a lot of speaking roles, but I save little Slack messages
Amazing.
when people praises me. Yeah, because like for what I do, project management, you don't get the credit when a project goes well. You get blamed when it fails. So yeah, that's a really, really good confidence boost.
Exactly.
So when someone is speaking and the people think, oh, this person is good, what are some of those cues that we are subconsciously responding to?
So yeah, I mean, look, really good question. And we'll respond to a few things, but one of the big things is, and I think people don't realize it, you're responding to someone's energy. And energy is a bit of an intangible. It's an aura,
Yeah,
right?
very.
But we do, forget about going the science of it, right? There's a lot of work now about reading of energy and how people read each other's energy. Now, I really believe that you are going to get influenced by people when they sound certain, right? So if there's a speaker on stage
Yeah.
or if you're in a sales meeting, the person in front of you, if that salesperson or that speaker sounds certain, is certain, that transfers to you. You feel more safe and you're more likely to be persuaded by them or influenced by them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If you're trying to sell it something, you better believe in the something yourself.
Yeah, and look, if I'm ever speaking to someone and they're trying to sell me something and I think they don't even believe in it properly, there is no chance I'm gonna want to work with them. And if I'm listening to someone on stage and I'm like, this speaker, I don't think they really even believe in the message they're speaking about. Again, I'm not going to be influenced by it. So I know it sounds really obvious, but it's that transfer of certainty. And so when we are looking at great speakers, without realizing we're very convinced by what they're saying. Okay. Then, of course, it depends on what they're saying as well, because we have to also agree with some of their points, or at least not even agree with them, but think that was something different. That was something that I didn't think about before. So there is obviously the content, but it's more about the delivery of that content. And energy comes from some of the things I just spoke about before. Because if a speaker or a salesperson or anybody in an influential place is on stage, is speaking because they're coming from a deeper sense of why. If they're coming because they're trying to serve you rather than just get something over the line or sell to you. If they're coming because you can tell they really rate themselves and believe in what they're doing, their product, their service themselves. That's going to be certainty. You're going to feel that energy and you're going to be more likely to be impressed by them, influenced by them. Then there are other things as well, like, the way they use their body, right? The way they use their voice, right? The way that they use their eye contact, right? So all of these things added to the actual confidence and belief they're displaying, as well as the message they're giving, it's what makes a speaker great or not. And just one thing to add to that, when I say confident state and certainty, it doesn't mean you have to be a really loud, jumping up and down speaker or salesperson. Sometimes there's a quiet confidence. For some people, it is that kind of high energy jumping, right? For some people, it's actually more of a calmer, quieter confidence that can be portrayed. There's no right or wrong. It's just about, if you feel that person is coming from a genuine place, if that person is really certain about what they do, and that person is very clear about the message they're giving, you're going to be much more likely to want to listen to them.
I was thinking car salesman when you were answering, because there is too much sometimes. Car salesmen, or salespeople, they have a reputation of just wanting to sell you something. They are very confident. They are very high energy most of the time. But why do they turn us off? Like, why do we have such a perception?
It's a really good question.
Our salespeople.
I'll tell you what it is, Karen. I mean, first of all, if I tell you some stats, you'll probably be surprised. So 48% of salespeople across all industries completely fail at their job. I'm not talking about 48%, right? There's some extensive research I looked at. 48% fail. So I'm not talking about are not doing very well. I mean, you need to get rid of them within 1 year. Okay. So that just shows you that most actual salespeople are, sorry to say, are pretty rubbish. Okay. Then another 32% are not terrible, but they're sort of struggling. Okay. To hit targets regularly. So only 20% of salespeople are very good. And of those 20%, only 6% are elite. Okay. So first of all, the reason why we get turned off by a lot of salespeople is most of them aren't very good. So you're being exposed to a lot of not so good, a profession where not most people are not very good. So naturally, you're
Hmm.
going to have bad experiences. But then again, the second thing is I think that, well, there's a couple of things. Human nature is to be skeptical.
Yeah.
It's a protection mechanism, right?
Survival
It's a
mechanism. Yeah.
survival mechanism. And going back to even some of the points I made earlier, like we've evolved, from being cavemen and women, right? Like we've been around for a couple of 100,000 years. We've only really lived in this kind of civilization for the last 5,000, 6,000 years, and even modern day civilization, probably the last 100 years or so. So
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
been, if we think about it, we only live like we're living like now for 5 minutes, really. We've been living mostly in caves and in very dangerous situations. And so we've evolved to spot danger, scan for danger because it kept us safe. So that's why, we typically also have a tendency to reflect on the negative than the positive. That's why I say things like win lists
Yeah.
are very important because we'll be very quick to criticize ourselves and beat ourselves up when we do something wrong, but we'll find it much more
Yeah.
difficult to kind of praise ourselves and look at what we're great at. So without going into too many points, going back to why we're skeptical and we're looking, it's a survival mechanism. Now, we're not 50,000 years ago when we're on the savannah looking out for a lion. That's not what we need to survive now. Now it's,
Hmm.
I'm speaking to you. What do you want from me? Why should I not trust you? What are you just trying to get from me? You're just trying to sell me something so you can make money out of me. So we're skeptical. So
Hmm.
we got a combination of quite a few salespeople not being very good at what they do. Then naturally we're skeptical. Like sometimes somebody is just being genuine and they really believe in that they can help you, right? But we're still going to have
Yeah.
a level of skepticism. So that's the other thing. And then the third thing is I think most, and even some of the good ones, there's still too much in the energy of trying to get something from you rather than trying to serve you. And and
Yeah.
that's one thing I always say to my clients, go into service. Because when you're in service, I think people just pick up on it. They just trust you more. They can see that you're not just trying to sell them something for your benefit. You're trying to sell something for their
Hmm.
benefit. I think people will pick up on that, and as a result, they will trust more. So
Hmm.
most of the time, most salespeople you come across aren't doing it for your benefit; they're doing it for theirs.
Hmm.
And so one of the things, I always go into and talk and train and teach about is how do you get into the customer's world, and how do you genuinely come from a place of service? Because I think when you do that, you've got a much better chance, and people trust you more.
Hmm. Yeah. Think about the service that not being able to speak convincingly and confidently do to someone. You could know the materials very well. You could be genuine, but that's not coming across.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, I know some people who've
Hmm.
got some great content, really good at what they do. It actually happened to me a few weeks ago. I went to a business event, okay, where there was
Hmm.
it was quite a large business event, and the guy, he's a business coach, really, really successful one. And part of what he
Hmm.
did is he gave people like they could put their name in the hat if they wanted to, and they could come up and get live coaching on stage on their business.
Hmm. Oh,
And
wow.
one of the guys, yeah, really, really good.
Interesting.
Yeah, one of the guys. So there was about probably 300 people in the room, 400 people in the room, and there was a stage. And the coach got one of the guys on stage who'd put his name forward, and the guy was he was a coach himself, and he coached on limiting beliefs. So his coaching business was I help people get rid of the limiting beliefs.
Hmm.
He got on stage and he couldn't articulate what he was saying. He just sounded
Hmm.
confusing to the audience. He didn't even sound that confident, and even like his words and his delivery was a little bit, it wasn't clear, it was all messed up, it was not in any sort of order. And actually I remember sitting there thinking, and I was thinking this, and I'm sure the rest of the audience were thinking, I'm sure he's probably a really good coach at getting rid of people's limiting beliefs, but because he couldn't articulate it well,
Hmm.
you actually lost credibility for him as a coach. I
Hmm.
actually I
Yeah.
actually thought, I don't think I'd actually use his service if I was someone who needed it. So where I'm going with that is it's really important to learn to speak, because sometimes you have something really powerful to give to the world, and because you can't speak or sell, because I call them the same thing, then you're doing yourself injustice, and potentially someone who could really benefit from your service or product isn't benefiting from it.
Hmm.
It's really important. It's really, really important. And I think with this world of AI that we're going into, right, where AI to a certain degree can be a great equalizer and make us more productive and efficient and everything. I mean, we don't know how much AI is going to advance, but certainly for the time being, I do think that if you have an ability to speak connect and influence people, you stand out.
Exactly.
And you will stand out in an AI world.
Exactly. Because there needs to be some real time in person exchange. And they know you're not talking, looking at an AI, like asking AI this question and answering after looking at the AI answer. So for that person who was not very cohesive, that reminded me of when that happened to me because there's not enough thinking time or there's a lag between me formulating the thought to it coming out. There's not enough time to process that in real time. So it comes out not cohesive. What's some things we can do to tackle that?
Well, I think a lot of the things what I spoke about earlier, I think when you're in the right state and you're coming mentally from a
Mm,
different place, that starts naturally
mm-hmm,
going down less because you're less in your
mm-hmm.
mind, you're less in your head, you're more in your body,
Yeah,
right? So that's why
yeah,
it's something that you should constantly work on because if you just do it like an hour before a talk, it's not ingrained in you enough.
yeah.
So I'm a big believer in. So a lot of the stuff I talk about mindset, I'm a believer. Just like we go to the gym, a few times a week and work out because we want to get healthy and a good body and etc. We need to do the same with our mind,
Yeah.
right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think people always see something like mindset as something that you just do once in a while, and I'm like, but you wouldn't go to the gym just once in a while and expect good results, right? You,
Mm-hmm.
you like you
Yeah.
see the logic in going whatever minimum 3 times a week or whatever it is, right? Why are we not doing something similar with our mindset? So when you do that, what you just mentioned there, where there's no cohesion and like what you're thinking and what you're saying is not coming out the same, that will massively improve. But then, of course, learning some of those skills, learning to breathe, learning to pause, learning to speak in a certain way, the technical skills, that
Mm-hmm.
helps as well. But I just really big
Mm-hmm.
believe, Karen, that it all begins like with your state and in the mind. And you
Yeah.
need to get that
Yeah.
foundation right. So when I speak on stage, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I'm so into my service, I'm so confident in what I do works that I'm not standing there well, in fact, all the time. I'm not really standing there going, I hope they like me. I hope this is coming across well. Like I want it to come across well, don't get me wrong. But I'm not sort of sitting there in
Yeah.
that energy. I hope I don't look like I'm trying to oversell myself. I'm just going out there being natural. And some people are not going to
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I'm okay with that. I mean, actually, that's something else I should mention. Not everyone's always going to like you. So I think the people generally in
Yeah.
life are,
Just accept that.
yeah, I think if you just get comfortable with not everybody, whether that's in personal life, business life, in a meeting, on stage, not everyone's going to like your delivery style. But you're not trying to
Mm-hmm.
make everyone like you. You're trying to connect with the certain people that you think need that message and resonate with that message. Because if he's constantly
Mm-hmm.
sitting there or standing there thinking about, I hope everyone likes me and everything, and I hope every single person gets me, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, it's not realistic and it just adds to the I hope they like me being the focus of your
Yeah.
mind instead of I'm gonna try to help these people with what I have to say. So let's talk about body language because I have seen so many videos about gestures that generally make people look confident. What are some of those?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've studied body language and I've listened to different speakers about body language, and people have slightly
Mm-hmm.
different things. So I find what works for me and what when I've sort of educated clients about, so they say it works for them. So I personally big believer is fill the space,
Mm, okay.
right? So let's say you're on stage, like stand like you're proud and you own that stage. Don't shrink your
Yeah.
shoulders and sort of shrink yourself.
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
own the space, like physically stand up
Yeah.
and fill more space on that stage. It sounds a bit weird, but it really looks confident. And also what it does, it sends a message to you. Like, I can't remember who the person was. One of the coaches out there said that if you stand with your hands on your hips, you actually like
Mm-hmm.
your brain gets a signal and it makes you feel more confident. It's a physiology thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So get in the right
Yeah.
posture, fill space, go bigger, don't shrink. That
Mm-hmm.
that makes a massive difference, right? And then, like I say, use all your body when you're speaking. Like I see some speakers, and actually their voice is pretty strong and pretty good, but they're just not using their arms, they're not using their hands, they're not using any gestures. They're really sort of stuck in one place, and I just think that makes them less powerful. So use your body, use your hand
Mm-hmm.
gestures, use your arms. Use. It's not just your voice; it's your body when you're speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is especially when like it's different when you're on a recorded podcast or when you're behind a camera. Maybe the body becomes less important, right? But when you're especially on a live stage and people can physically see you, you've got to
Mm-hmm.
think about your body as well.
Is it because it's more natural if you use your whole body?
It's more natural, it's more memorable. I mean, if you
Mm,
again goes back to, I'm a big believer in looking at evolution. We learned to use our bodies before humans learned language, right?
yeah.
So if you think that, I don't know when it was, but say 50,000, 100,000 years ago, before we could speak, a lot of the time we were using gestures with each other. So we're hardwired to actually want to see some of those
Mm,
gestures. So now we obviously
mm-hmm,
learn language, but if you can combine that with some powerful body language, as well as what you say, of course, it makes a difference. Um,
mm-hmm.
Things about like using your eyes. I mean, they say like eyes are the window to the soul. The eyes never
Yeah,
lie. All that
yeah.
stuff. Like
Mm-hmm,
use your eyes, right? Like when I'm speaking, I will look at the audience, I look into their eyes, right? And what a lot of people do is either look into sort of space, which isn't great, or they'll scan the
mm-hmm,
audience, right? And they don't actually look at anyone properly. So one of the techniques I would say is when you're speaking, as you're speaking, every so often, look at one person and say a point and just say it to that one person, even if there's an audience of 100, then change, move to another person, then maybe mix it up and scan a bit. But let's say, if I do a talk and I did a talk in front of a couple of hundred people, I will, and that talk was 15 minutes. Within that 15 minutes, I'll make sure that at least about 15 people, I held eye contact with them for a few seconds. Not
mm-hmm,
so enough to make you look weird, right? But enough to
mm-hmm,
be
yeah,
like
yeah.
they felt you. Because eyes are really, number one, it shows confidence. And number two, you connect with those 15 people. Even if there's 15, you will connect with them. And the audience will feel that they've gained energy, will feel those 15 people being connected
Mm-hmm,
with, and they'll feel more connected as well.
mm-hmm,
And then a couple of more things. When you're moving, because people talk about moving, like when I said about earlier, use your body,
yeah.
but don't overly fidget. And what I say is when you move, the best way to speak is you stand still, you deliver a point, then you move. You actually
Mm-hmm,
physically move, but you do it with conviction, right? And then you
mm-hmm,
speak again. So maybe you move 4 or 5 times in a talk, but you do it with conviction. You're not shuffling around. And I see some people when they speak are sort of shuffling around or aimlessly wandering, and they're constantly moving, and that actually then loses the value and the power.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, there. I mean, there's lots of other things as well, but there are some of the main things when it comes to body language. Like use your body,
mm-hmm.
use it well.
What are some of the no-nos when it comes to gesture? You said like don't be overly fidgety, don't just be moving around with no purpose.
Yeah.
What are some other ones? Let's say we're in a one-on-one conversation.
Okay. So in a one-on-one conversation, I think it's really important to like there's a certain level of mirroring the other person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not mirroring them to the point where you're being like a parrot, but just slightly, you want to be in sync with them, right? You want to be in
Mm-hmm.
sync with their body
Yeah,
language, their pace of talk, right?
yeah.
One of the things we talk about is disc personality styles, which is, I won't go into that too much. And different personalities, they're actually sometimes will speak at different speeds. Okay. I'm quite a naturally fast speaker. Okay. The words come out of my mouth naturally quite quickly. So I have to sometimes
Mm-hmm.
remember, I have to consciously remember if I'm speaking with someone who speaks a lot slowly than me, I have to actually slow down. I have
Mm-hmm.
to go against my natural, you know, my
Mm-hmm.
natural speaking style, which is fine. A little bit of adjusting is fine. Okay.
Yeah,
If I'm
yeah.
speaking though in front of somebody who's really quick speaking and thinking and talking, it's fine, right? Match
Mm-hmm.
them. So I think one of the things is you want to really get in sync with the person you're with one on one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, this is kind of going outside speaking now, but this is going more into like pure speaking. This is going into more the realms of actually selling. Like you want to ask really powerful questions and you want to listen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Because research has shown this as well. And in fact, we still sometimes use a tool where we used to record people's conversations in a sales conversation, and then what we found is that the when the salesperson, more whoever that is, business owner selling their products and services, when they spoke a lot more than the customer, the sale didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
When they're speaking to listening with about 50-50, and even more this maybe the customer's favor, where the customer spoke more than the salesperson, the sale happened. So one
Mm-hmm.
of the things is like now I'm speaking, right? You're interviewing me, so I'm very much in a speaking mode. If I was having a sales
Yeah.
conversation, I would be asking much more questions. I'd be speaking less, not totally not speaking, speaking less,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be trying to find out more from the customer. So that's not quite speaking itself. That's more selling. And yeah, so the no nos or are to not, if you're not matching, that's a really bad no no. And
Mm-hmm.
all the other things I said earlier. If you're trying to just sell somebody something, right? If you're making it all about
Mm-hmm.
yourself, if you're more worried about whether they like you or not, than whether you can connect with them,
Mm-hmm.
whether you can serve them, these are all no-nos. These are all going to affect your
Mm-hmm.
ability to speak, your ability to sell, your ability to be successful.
So recordings for conversations for training purposes is real. Like when you call customer service, that's always a disclaimer.
Yeah,
So that is
they do
real.
use it sometimes, not
Mm-hmm.
all the time. Yeah, they do use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So something that I've been interested in, language and accents. Sometimes people are not very confident because they don't speak English very well, or they have accents that make it hard to understand. That hurts their confidence subconsciously.
Yeah.
Have you handled clients like that?
It's again a really good question. I mean, look, there's a couple of responses here. I mean, you can have accent training. I don't do that, but there are accent coaches, accent trainers out there,
Mm-hmm.
and that certainly will help. So you can do something about it in that sense. But what I've said to clients, so I've had clients before. Remember it actually happened a few months ago. One of my clients, she's an East European lady, and she said that. She said,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't feel very confident in my English, especially my accent. And again, it goes back to mindset. I said, actually, your accent helps you stand out. Like you're memorable,
Yeah,
right? Right.
memorable.
I
Yeah.
said, in a way, I'm in London. My accent is just normal. My accent isn't memorable at all, right? When I'm here in the
Mm-hmm.
UK. So you can flip the script in your mind. You can go from, my accent's going to make me look like stand out in a bad way. People won't understand
Mm-hmm.
me, to actually, my accent is what's going to make me memorable and stand out, which is what we always really want to
Mm-hmm.
do. So I think
Mm-hmm.
one thing is, again, flip it in your mind, because if you're going there and you're conscious about your accent, it's not the accent that's going to make you actually lose the sale or the speech. It's the consciousness about it that's going to be the fact that you're worried about it. That's what's going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you flip that script to actually, I love my accent being different. It's going to be my superpower. It's actually what's going to make me stand out. You're now going to speak with more confidence, and ironically, the accent is not going to be a problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that I would say is the main thing. But of course, it depends on how like unclear your accent is, or how um your level of English, I guess. But obviously then you can have
Mm-hmm.
accent training and English training. But I do believe
Mm-hmm.
again, a lot of it's in the mind. Don't think of it as a hindrance. Think of it as a superpower.
I love that. I tend to, when I learn new languages, I want to speak it in the perfect accent to that language.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you pointed that out, because I've known so many people who that is sort of a hindrance for themselves. But there are also people with worse accents than them that are more confident than them.
Yeah, 100%. And just one little thing to add there, you said the word perfection. So
Mm.
one of the things I actually say, one of my older mentors used to say that perfection can be poverty.
Oh.
Well, what they meant by that,
Okay.
if you're always trying to do the perfect speech, the perfect talk,
Mhm.
like, so I'll take it to a sales situation, because obviously we work with sales teams and people. Like if you're about to do something like call a customer, or cold call, or anything like that, if you're constantly looking for the perfect script, you're not going to make calls, right? Now,
Yeah.
just if we look at math here, right? You've got two people, and one guy makes 5 calls, which he thinks are perfect, okay? And the other guy makes 50 calls, which aren't bad. They're not, but they're not perfect. They're just good, okay?
Mhm.
Even the guy who makes 5 perfect calls, not everyone's going to buy from them, right? Let's say he still has a pretty good rate because it's perfect, and 4 people buy from him,
Mhm.
or 3 people. So he's made 4 sales, okay? The other guy who made 50 calls of a good, not great, but good, even if only 20% of the people buy from him, that's still 10
Mhm.
people. He still outperformed the guy who did perfect,
Mm.
right? So that's
Yeah.
where perfection becomes poverty. And that's where sometimes people can just procrastinate over things. And action is always the thing that's going to win. So I always say, get to a very good level. I don't believe in
Mhm.
never put anything out there that's rubbish. Never go and do a talk that's rubbish. Never do anything like that. But
Mhm.
sometimes get to a good enough state, right?
Mhm.
And then you don't have to be perfect, because the perfection is actually going to make you not take action, which ironically is going to stop you getting the results you want to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to make the sale. So going back to what you said earlier, your mindset, you are helping this person by telling this person what you have to say. what service you provide, and that put you in a totally different state.
Exactly. And the other state is, of course, and be abundant.
Be abundant.
Yeah, it's so true that when you are like, for example, your business is doing really well, right? You don't,
Mm,
or your
mm,
if you're a salesperson, your sales are going really well. You don't need that sale. You're not as desperate, and you actually walk away from things, and people feel that,
mm.
and actually, ironically, want to do business with you, right? So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a vicious loop because the more successful you are, the more you can do that. The less successful you are, the more you're in kind of that lack mentality,
Yeah, I need
which
everything.
drives people away. So it is difficult.
Mm,
But one thing, and this is where again, it's probably a talk for another day, but you can trick your brain and you can get it to feel that it's abundant, even when it quite isn't yet. And if you go with that's why I think faith and belief is really important because if you just walk around like thinking that, you know what, maybe it's not great at the moment or it's not perfect yet, but everything's going to work out fine. That's a kind of an abundant mentality, right?
mm.
And then eventually by taking action and not being desperate, you will get the results you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Not being desperate. Definitely. It works for everything. If you're trying to find a new flat, you're trying to find a new
A
job,
new partner, a
same thing.
romantic partner, like nobody
Yeah.
wants somebody who's desperate, right?
Yeah. Because they will also think you're only taking me because you're desperate.
Yeah,
So I'm definitely not going to buy from you. I'm definitely not going to go out with you.
exactly.
Great. So you mentioned technical skills quite a few times. Is that what you're going to talk about at your workshop next week?
Yeah, so we're gonna do a few things in a workshop. I mean, should I tell the audience a little bit about the workshop?
Yeah, let's do that. But keep listening because we are going to do rapid fire later.
Okay, yes. So on Monday, the 1st of December at the London Chamber of Commerce, we are doing an
Mhm,
in-person workshop called Speak to Influence. Now I say we because it's going to be myself and the
mhm,
London president of the Professional Speakers Association, very talented lady, obviously very experienced speaker. And the reason we put it on, Karen, is we know that a lot of people are either struggling or not where they want to be when it comes to speaking and when it comes to influencing,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So what we're going to do, we're going to cover the technical skills of speaking, but not just speaking to speak well, but speaking to influence. So that whether you're
mhm,
speaking on stage, whether you're speaking on on social media, behind a camera, or whether you're in a sales call or meeting, you're going to be much, much better at getting the results you want,
mhm,
whether that's connecting with people, influencing people, impacting people. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of those mindset areas that I spoke about. But we're also going to look at some of the techniques that involved that you can use to become really good in all those areas. So it's a very good workshop because I think it's people who want to come there who want to improve their speaking skills, but also their influencing skills, right?
mhm,
This is going to be this is what it's designed for, is to tackle both. And the other thing is we're going to keep it very hands-on and practical. So we want it to be that people who come that day, it's not just all theory. We are going to give, and it's all, you don't have to. We're going to give people the opportunity to actually practice their pitch, a quick talk, a role play of a sales conversation. So we will teach the skills and then we'll get people to practice it and give them real-time feedback so that, for example, I was at a networking event the other day. One of the entrepreneurs I met said he's currently looking to raise funding and he's doing a lot of pitches
mhm,
in front of investors and he's not getting the funding. I said, look, come along to this workshop because we'll be teaching you some of the skills there. And you can also
mhm,
practice if you want to, no obligation. You can practice your pitch and we can critique it so that when you then go out in the real world, you're in a much better position to get the result you want. So, then he
mhm.
signed up. So it's a really powerful workshop because of what we're going to be teaching and also because of the fact that it's very practical and hands-on. And yeah, we're looking really forward to it. So if anyone is interested in that, then just connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, Navin Jaitly, NavinJaitly, or on Instagram as well. And either drop me a DM or you can email me, which is navinjaitlycoaching@outlook.com. So there's a few different ways
Mhm.
there, and I can send the details. But we've got a few spaces left, and I'm looking very forward to it.
Yeah, I will have your information, all the contact details in the show notes as well. And for those who are lucky enough to be in London or close enough to London, definitely give it a try because Christmas is coming. There's lots of holiday parties, family gatherings. You can be more confident with your family too.
True.
Hmm. All right, let's do rapid fire.
Sure, go for it.
Is there something that people always get wrong when they're speaking or selling that drives you crazy?
Okay, so for when they're speaking, it's when some of the things that they do, like they mumble, they don't own their body, they don't speak with confidence, like
Mm,
that can hurt me. But when they're selling, it's when they talk too much and they don't ask powerful questions and they don't listen.
hmm
Like I get sold too, of course, right? I've actually sometimes I was getting sold on the phone the other day and actually stopped them and said, look, just to give you a couple of tips, this is where you're kind of going wrong with selling to me. And they were like, oh my God, thank you. But yeah,
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 thank you.
yeah. So yeah, there are a couple of things. I mean, just off the top of my head, they're the two things I can think of.
Okay, next one. Was there a funny speaking mishap in your life that now you always mention it as a joke to family gatherings?
It wasn't a mishap, but it was something that happened. So years ago, I was going to speak, but just before I went on there, there was a lady who went just before me, and part of her talk, she started singing, right? Like at the end of it.
Okay.
But the thing
Mm,
is, her voice was terrible, right?
okay.
Right, and everybody in the audience, you could tell was sort of, when everyone's kind of looking at each other, like, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
terrible, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
I did my humor is sometimes like if something's like in that situation where you can't laugh, it makes me kind of laugh inside even more because I'm trying to hold my laugh in. And
mhm,
I was really trying to hold it in because I was the next speaker on stage, so everyone could see my face, and I was putting my hand over my face to, I was basically feeling what everyone else was. And then I was next on, so I was next on. I start speaking, but I couldn't get that out of my head. So throughout my talk, I just had this big smirk on my face, and the audience, I think they knew why I had that smirk. And I was really trying to get
mm,
rid of it because I thought this is now looking really inappropriate, but
mm.
I actually couldn't. So that's something I always remember. It was
Mhm.
funnier at
All
the
right.
time when I'm explaining it. It never sounds as funny, but at the time it was like it was really funny.
I can see why. Yeah. I hope it went well though.
It went well. I think I just
Mm,
looked like I was smiling the whole way through. I mean, maybe they thought I was very friendly, but I think some of them knew why I was
mm.
smiling as well.
Yeah, that makes it funnier. Okay, next one. What's a phrase that you find yourself repeatedly saying to the clients you're coaching?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm trying to think. I mean, rather than a phrase, I think there's a sort of a consistent message I always give people when I'm coaching, and that is number one. And I really do believe that to be successful in life, I actually genuinely think this is probably the most important thing. Well, equal important thing, which is believe in yourself,
Mm, mm,
right? Believe in yourself or your product or your service, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. So I'm always trying to give them skills, techniques to believe in themselves, work on their mindset, but just generally remember that, right? Back yourself. And I think belief is so, so important. The other thing, where I said equal importance, is clarity. I think if somebody
mhm,
really knows themselves and knows what they want and have I'm not talking about, inappropriate level of a belief where they're cocky and anything like that. I mean, just generally a solid belief. I really do believe that they can be successful. So that's that's something. And then the other thing I'm always reminding my clients is ask powerful questions
mhm,
when you're selling, try to think, in fact, train yourself that you're in a situation. If a client throws you an objection, if you make a statement, always try to think what's the next best question to ask in this situation rather than just the next best thing to say. Because people
mhm,
over talk, over justify, oversell. Asking questions makes the client or the person who you're speaking to, they think about their situation more deeply. That's much more powerful. There's a saying in sales which says, "Telling isn't selling."
mm, yeah.
If I just said to you, Karen, this is why you need me, this is why you should work,
Mhm,
you actually probably put your defensive barriers up.
yeah,
But if I
yeah.
if I asked you the question, why do you think right now you need sales training or
Mhm,
sales coaching? Like a very simple thing, a very simple example here. That's making you
mm,
think about why you need it. Now, I'm not trying to sell to you. I'm getting you to think about whether you need it or not. So,
mhm.
yeah, there's a couple of things. Believe in yourself and ask powerful questions.
That's the power of the why.
Yes.
All right. If you didn't get into sales nor coaching, what would you be doing?
Oh, it's a really good one. To be honest, I can't think of, I mean, I think speaking, I've always enjoyed speaking. Okay.
Mm,
Sales is my 20 years in sales built into a career, and coaching and mindset and understanding humans
hmm
is something I'm passionate about. So I'm
hmm
very lucky that I do all three things.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't really think I can't see myself. It's a really difficult one to know what else I would be doing. I think
Mm-hmm.
researching as well. I love reading.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably, obviously, you can't make a living from just reading, but I think probably researching. But honestly, I so love what I do, and I've built up a very good level of skill in those areas that I can't imagine me doing something else. And I love people and I love helping people. So yeah, I really,
Maybe something in that
yeah,
helping people.
yeah, which is the coaching side of
Mm-hmm.
what I do, right? So the coaching is the helping.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a good question, but I really can't imagine myself doing anything different now.
So it may be something that is in a form of coaching
Yeah,
or a form of sales.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
something along the lines of developing
Mm-hmm.
people, right? It's quite funny because
Mm-hmm.
my grandparents, my granddad was a teacher, one of my granddads, and my other granddad was a
I was thinking teaching, like
yeah,
maybe teaching.
well, he was a teacher, and my
Mm-hmm.
other granddad was ran a gold business, right? A gold shop.
A
So
gold
yeah,
business,
like
okay?
a
Yeah.
gold shop, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that combination of business and education is kind of, I guess you could say, in my blood. And what I do now
Mm-hmm.
is effectively both, right? I'm running a
Mm-hmm.
business, so it's very professional and business and the things you need to do as a business, but I'm coaching, training, and teaching people, which is the
Mm-hmm.
teacher side. And it's that combination that I love because and I'm helping them do the same because I'm helping develop them, but I'm also helping them
Mm-hmm.
to make more revenue, income, and grow their business. And so I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that combination is something that I'm really interested in and doing what I should be doing.
That's nice. Like it's the nature and nurture.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have it in your nature and you're nurturing it.
exactly. And I do believe that's what people should try to do. Find your natural gifts and double down on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you for
I
having me.
myself has learned a few things.
I enjoyed that. It really some really good questions as well. So I enjoyed that.
Well, thank you. I try to ask powerful questions as well.
No, you do. You do very much so.
All right. So anyone in London or close enough, I'm gonna leave information about the workshop in the show notes. Definitely check it out or get in touch with Navin.
Yeah, sure. And even if anybody wants to just talk about, developing their business as well, like I said, I work with entrepreneurs. I also work with businesses who have business sales teams. So if anybody wants to talk about coaching, right, with me or want to even discuss something, feel free to connect.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Karen.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Mind One. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to follow and share it with anyone who needs to hear it. And let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on LinkedIn or leave me a comment. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and let's continue to plan our minds and discover what's possible.